Welcome back for another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Wednesday, June 19th at 5 o'clock, I'm going to join the Juneteenth Planning Committee and the Union County Freeholders at the first Juneteenth flag raising ceremony. This event will be held at the Union County Courthouse located at 2 Broad Street. And on Friday, June 21st at 5 o'clock, the Elizabeth Police Department at Magic Fountain, located on Williamson Street, for Ice Cream with the Cops. This is an event we held last year with the cooperation of Magic Fountain, where residents can meet, speak with police officers and the Elizabeth Police Department and enjoy some free ice cream provided by the Magic Fountain. And later that evening, the Juneteenth Celebration Ball will be held at the Renaissance Newark Airport Hotel, located at 1000 Spring Street. And also, in the morning, I'm going to join 3rd Ward Councilman Kevin Canary and the community members of the 3rd Ward Place Street celebration. This is a family-friendly event. It's going to be held between 10 and 12. It's recommended for ages 6 through 14, a morning of games, raffles, giveaways, and much more. This event is held out front of the Elmore Racquet Club, 23 Fernwood Terrace, sponsored by myself, the City of Elizabeth, and of course, Councilman Kevin Canary of the 3rd Ward and Shaping Elizabeth. For more information, please call 908-820-4051. And on Monday, June 24th at 6 o'clock will be the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Sapphire Style, located at 1124 East Grand Street. If you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. I'm pleased to be joined on this week's show. For the beginning is Mr. Omar Munoz, who's the fire official in the city of Elizabeth. And Omar, it's summer fire prevention time. Welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
You know, we did this show last year.
Yes, ma'am.
And you brought a lot more props this year.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I know. So tell us about yourself first. You've been a fire official for how long now?
I'm going on my third year as a fire official for the city of Elizabeth. And I am the authority having jurisdiction with the Bureau.
Enjoying it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like it, huh?
Yes, I have many opportunities to help the community and the residents.
Yeah, tell us what they do in the fire prevention. Tell our viewers.
Well, as I mentioned, we are the authority having jurisdiction, and we pretty much enforce the New Jersey Fire Code. That's our main mission, and that entails everything from public to private entities. That means anything from one family home to a 300,000 square foot warehouse.
And Omar, the Bureau of Fire Prevention is located in the headquarters?
Yes, that's at 411 Irvington Avenue here in Elizabeth.
Now Omar, summer's here, and every year we always deal with the issue of outdoor cookouts, picnics, barbecues, and fire safety for different types of grills is extremely important. And you can share with us the different types of fire safety precautions that people can take.
Yes. The first thing is to understand that you have an open flame. And open flames, if they're not being monitored, something could go wrong. Now, with barbecuing, be it a gas grill or a charcoal grill, it should be a minimum 10 feet away from a structure, from your house. It should not be closer than that. You should always have a fire extinguisher.
And if more, that's fine too.
If it is more, that's even greater. But the main theory behind that is to make sure there's nothing around that close enough that an ember could fly on it and catch fire. Okay. That's the theory. And you don't want the smoke going into a house because that smoke is laden with carbon monoxide.
Yeah. So, and you talked about a fire extinguisher.
Yes. And every time you do barbecue, you should have a fire extinguisher nearby. A 2A like this, which is required in a 1 and 2 family home.
So the one I have is a little bit smaller than that.
And that could be used. That could be used if you have it at the moment. Just don't take the one from the house. if you have one already in the house. That's the main thing.
So you keep that near the fire?
Nearby, in case something does go out of control, the flame gets out of control, you could use the fire extinguisher. Or something does catch fire, you could use the fire extinguisher.
And then if it's call for help.
Yes, then after that, always call 911 after that.
So you have a gas grill here, right?
Charcoal.
Just a charcoal grill.
Yes.
And you have charcoal. So is there a proper way to light charcoal grills?
Well, yes. You ever seen that you're standing far and you press
I know.
the charcoal lighter?
Yeah.
No, do not do
No,
that.
yeah. Or do you spray the gas over the match?
Right,
Yeah.
that's not good. You know, you could, once you pour the lighter fluid, then you could go with a piece of paper or a lighter and light it up. But don't do it from afar doing something like that because that's not good.
That's not good.
And when you're using the grill, ensure that if you do open it up slowly so there's not an infusion of air, which makes that flame gets bigger. Always open up slowly.
Oh, I never knew that part.
Yes.
And that will prevent the flame from
Yes,
rising.
because you don't have that rush of air, and that which will make the flame.
And what
get
else do you
bigger.
have here on the grill?
I have fireworks here.
Oh, are they legal
Yes.
in New Jersey?
They are now, but let's understand what the terminology of fireworks is. You have consumer fireworks, and then you got commercial. Commercial is only authorized by a licensed vendor, and those like on 4th of July, we're going to have a commercial vendor using fireworks. The ones that you see here, they're consumer fireworks, and if you want to know the difference, these do not have fuses, and these do not have doesn't make a bang. That's the trick.
And these are okay.
These are okay, yes.
But the ones with the fuse?
Fuse and they explode with a certain amount of gunpowder. I mean, not
Right.
gunpowder, but black powder in it. That's not good.
So do you have any ones that are not allowed here?
No, I don't have no illegal
Yeah.
ones. No. What I could say, the sparklers. That and again, if you are going to be using these novelty fireworks, consumer fireworks, always make sure first read the manufacturer instructions, and they should be adult supervision at all times. Because again, be any kind of quantity, you have something that is an open flame and could go out of control. Here in Elizabeth, since it's an urban area, most of the houses are very close together. So let's say an ember from one of these devices, the wind blows it on top of the roof of the other house, that could catch fire. So again, there should be adult supervision in using these devices.
And sometimes people don't take care, so people can get hurt by fireworks.
Yes, unfortunately, I don't know if you heard on Sunday, a man got killed in Newark with fireworks, but he had the illegal type.
Right. So gas grills and charcoal grills, any difference in preparation or being careful?
Well, with the gas grill, which is propane, you just gotta make sure that you have a very good propane tank, and the connection is good. If I may show you, again, that the fittings are proper, that you have a good container, and if you have a container that's rusted, old, dented, you should not use it.
But right now, the people, when you swap out you get a whole new tank now. You don't
Yes,
just refill it.
and that is a requirement for a vendor that when they get the old tanks, they have to refurbish it before they resell it.
So switching gears a little bit, pools and spray parks are now open. Can you give us some tips on pool safety?
Well, again, the main thing with anything, it should be adult supervision. That's the first thing. And something I wanted to point out, that a lot of people take it that, do you know that you could drown by a couple of teaspoons of water?
I've always heard that, but how?
And that's a fact. Or half a cup of water. And if it goes into your lungs, you could drown. So we have a lot. We now have a lot of water parks. What's the danger? Well, the danger could be where one is not being supervised correctly. If there's no lifeguard, there should be a lifeguard there, and just being careful of what you do, because I remember as a kid I used to go over to the water and let it spray into my nose, and you know how you choke. But again, if it's someone that has a weakened system that they don't react, they could drown.
Now, this doesn't happen in Elizabeth, but people do go camping.
Yes.
So campfires, building a fire, leaving it untended, proper technique to put out a fire. Tell us the importance of safety at a campfire.
Oh, big time. I mean, if you see the fires they have out west, That could happen anywhere. And the thing is that if you do a bonfire or campfire, you gotta make sure that it's extinguished completely. You just don't walk away from it. And if you need more guidance, you always go to the U.S. Forestry website, and they could give you a lot more guidance of what to do in a using campfire.
So how do you know, you pour water on it, how do you know it's extinguished? If it's still smoking, it's not
If it's still
extinguished?
smoking, it's still hot.
It's still hot.
Yes. The best way, touch it. You know, I mean, if it's not hot to the touch, it's very cold, then it's good. And then you should scoop it up and put it in a metal container. That's another thing. Don't put it in the plastic paper bag. Put it in a metal container. That's
And that will prevent it spreading.
that should prevent it from spreading. Yes, sir.
So fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors for the home. Where can residents buy them? And does the fire department recommend any, or a lifetime warranty? What does the fire department recommend?
Now for New Jersey, you have to have a 10-year seal detector, and you can purchase them at Home Depot or any hardware store. That is recommended. We recommend that if for carbon, if you could get the duals, those are good also, which is the smoke and carbon combined. Or you could get them separately. But right now, for smoke alarms, it's recommended you get the 10-year seal.
And where should they be placed in the home?
The rule of thumb is if you can put one on each level, you're good.
Right.
But as a minimum, there should be one in the basement because that's where your furnace and water heater is there. It should be somewhere in the living room area. If you have a staircase, it should be somewhere where it will catch it before it goes up the stairs. Okay. If it's on that second landing, as a minimum, it should be in the center there of the hallway around the bedrooms. And if you have an attic that is finished, which has walls or rooms, you should have a smoke detector there also.
So some of the residents have gates on their windows, and we were talking about this
Yes.
gate before the show. But gates could be a problem, especially for firefighters.
Yes, and this is the dilemma. Are you going to weigh fire safety or crime safety? And that's a hard choice. But the thing with this is that if you do have these bars, they need to have the mechanism to unlatch it from the inside. And then you could use these. But if you have them anchored to the wall, they're not good at all. I mean, they'll keep someone from coming in, but it definitely could keep you from going out. And it presents upon for us in firefighting, because for us to cut through this, it takes a few minutes. It's not a quick operation to take one of these down.
One of the things I always like to close with is when we had a fire in our house, and my daughter was 4 years old. I brought her downstairs and said, we have to get out, we have a fire. And she said at 4, Dad, when do I stop, drop, and roll? And you go to schools an awful lot to teach children about fire safety. Why is it important for them to learn at a young age?
Oh, it's already been proven. The younger the mind is still developing, is absorbing. And if you could start from very young, those children will know about fire safety all the way to their adulthood.
And then when there's a fire, like it was at my house, my daughter would know what to do in case
Exactly.
that happened, right?
Yes, and they might not know the proper technique, but they know something has to be done. And panic is sort of like controlled because they know, wait, I gotta do this. That's the main concept for
Omar,
education.
I think we covered everything.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show. And I appreciate all of your work with young people and making sure they're educated on fire safety as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you. For Mr. Omar Munoz, please stay with us. After these messages, I'll be back with more with Deputy Chief Jim Sacca of the Elizabeth Police Department.
Just minutes from New York City, we are the gateway to the state of New Jersey. Experience Elizabeth. It all starts here.
Welcome back to our city. For the second half of the show, I'm pleased to be joined by Deputy Chief Jim Sacca of the Elizabeth Police Department. Jim, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
You've been on before.
Yes, sir.
Now, it's recruitment month, but first of all, you became a deputy chief when? Tell us about your rise through the ranks.
I became a deputy chief last year in October. I've been a police officer for 24 years.
24. And you're an Elizabeth kid, born and bred, right?
Yes, sir. I was born and raised in the city of Elizabeth.
Peterstown?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. So, every so often, every couple of years, Trenton calls for a test. We got to get a new test. Tell us what the police department is doing in their recruitment efforts right now.
Currently, we're out. We're circulating flyers. We're at fairs. We're visiting houses of worship. We're attempting to increase the applicant pool for the state law enforcement entrance exam.
Which the application process is open from a certain date to an end date, right? I think it's July 1st till when?
Yes, sir. It opens on July 1st and it closes on August 31st of this year.
Now tell us about the extreme rules, because if you don't get it in by August 31st, you can't get in, correct?
Yes, sir. The 31st is the closing date. An applicant, in order to be hired for the city of Elizabeth, has to be an Elizabeth resident before the closing date. And once the test is closed, then they'll announce the actual test date, which will be sometime in the fall.
So what people don't understand is at the time of the application, all the way through the first year, they have to maintain a residency in the city.
Yes, they must be Elizabeth residents from when they put their application in, taking the test, through the hiring process. Once they put an address down on their application, they can't go back and change it through civil service.
Right. And they could move within the city of Elizabeth, but they can't change their address. They have to.
That's correct.
Yeah. So the exam that we have, it'll be held sometime in the fall. You think that's how quick it turns around from August 31st?
Yes, the civil service has announced that they will have a fall date. Once a person applies, they'll receive an immediate email confirming that their application went through. Afterwards, they'll receive their test date and location, and then civil service expects that they'll get the results in the spring of 2020.
So without giving too much away, how long is this exam, by the way?
The exam is about 2 hours. It's a written exam with multiple choice questions.
All multiple choice?
Yes.
So what type of question? I often get asked, Jim, what type of questions are on the police exam for 2021, 22? And the next question is, has it changed since you've taken it?
So they haven't released the subject matter for this year. However, traditionally, it's been reading comprehension, mathematics, and some type of analysis section. However, when a person applies, they'll get an immediate link which takes them to an orientation guide and sample test questions. In the samples, it'll tell them exactly what to expect on the test.
So the sample test question, when you talk about math, they have to solve math equations?
Yes, they'll have to solve math problems. They'll have a worksheet and scrap paper and an answer key to put their answers in.
So there's no questions that say, if you had a hostage situation, what would you do? It's not police work questions.
The exam itself is not police related. It's a comprehension and an analysis of a personality in order to give an assessment of a ranking for the score.
And then that testing, because people say, hey, I could walk in, I'm a straight A student, I should be able to do well in this test. But sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Sometimes it doesn't work out. People are sometimes overwhelmed by simply taking a test. There are prep courses which people can take. However, if a person has the basics of comprehension, mathematics, and stays steady and true to their questions, they should do well on the exam.
So it's been 24 years or 25 since you've taken the test, right, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Were you nervous first time you?
Like any other human being, I was extremely nervous taking the exam, and with every promotional exam I've taken, I've been nervous going into it. And for those exams, I studied 10 and 12 hours a day.
But those exams are about police work.
Those are directly geared towards the rank that you're testing for.
And you'd have to know how to organize men and women of the department in a certain situation, correct?
There are several components to a promotional exam. They are knowledge of the laws and the statutes along with application, and there are also management components from different authors that are created into test questions.
So what would you advise a young man or young woman who is taking the test now at 21 and 22? Somebody calls you up, Jim, and they say, hey, you're a deputy chief. What would you tell me as a new person to prepare? What would you tell me to do?
Well, it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're taking a test. It's human nature to be nervous. You can't look at the exam as an overwhelming object to tackle. They must take each question individually, read it, and comprehend what the test writer is asking. They don't want to get slipped up on the easy not questions or the ones that have words like always. They want to ensure that the answer that they want to mark is the one that they're in fact putting on their answer key, so they're not slipped up. If they take it piece by piece, they'll be able to move through the exam.
Okay, so let's go back to mechanics. I want to become a police officer, and I have no idea what to do, which is probably a wrong step to begin with if I want to be a police officer. So where do they go? Do they look on a website? Do they come to police headquarters and get an app? What do they do? What's the first step?
Well, any police officer will be more than happy to explain it to them. So if they get a chance to talk to one of our Elizabeth cops, they'll be more than happy to tell them the process, or they can come to the front desk and we'll tell them. On the City of Elizabeth social media pages and the Elizabeth Police social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, our links will show the recruiting flyer that I'm holding right here, which has a link which will take them to the State Commission of Civil Service website.
So I think you made a really good point. People have to understand this is not the City of Elizabeth issuing the test. It's the State of New Jersey Civil Service Commission.
Yes, the state law enforcement exam is what is used, and the City of Elizabeth, when they want to hire, this will allow us to call the state and receive an eligibility list over the next 3 years.
And I think it's important, Jim, if you tell our viewers that it's based on rank order on how you get hired.
Once the test is taken and the applicant will receive a raw score, that's the amount of answers that they got correct off of the test. The minimum passing score is a 70% in order to get a ranking. The applicants will not get any other notice until an appointing authority wants to hire. And then when the City of Elizabeth wants to hire, they'll contact Civil Service, and then Civil Service will send us a list of eligible people.
And the list is usually good for what, 2 years or 3 years sometimes if it gets extended?
It's a 3-year testing cycle. So in 2019, we'll start the application process. Once the results come out next year, they'll be good for 2 years. Unless there's an extension, then it'll extend it to 2023.
And Jim, if you don't score, I tell people, usually based on the number of people that take it, if you don't score higher than 94 or 92, it's hard to get hired.
We've been seeing higher and higher scores in the top of the charts, 97s, 98s. However, the list is good for 3 years. So we will go through the veterans and the top 10 applicants within the first year of hiring process. So there is a chance for being hired even with a mid-90s score.
But in Elizabeth, since we have what, last week, or we have 24 came out? 20, how many new people just came on?
We're graduating 25 in the academy on June 11th.
25, so that's going to put us up in closer to full strength, probably up to 340 something.
Yes, we will have the most police officers that we've had in our recent history.
Right.
However, police officers retire. It's like any other profession. And through attrition, we'll need to replace them. Even though we're getting 24 this year, 9 or 10
Yeah, probably
will
next
retire.
year we're going to need to hire another 20-something just to get up to the TO again. The TO is 360, so we're working on getting back to there after the 2007 recession.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you fail the exam, will they know or they won't even know? You said you only get a rank if you're above 70. So if you fail, will you know?
Everybody will receive in the mail a raw score. If they don't pass 70% of the questions, they will not get a raw score.
Oh, okay. So they said they won't get it. Do you think we're going to have a large turnout for this test?
Well, we've been recruiting more this year than ever. The police department has been attempting to increase our applicant pool to get a greater diversity into our agency. We've distributed over 300 of these flyers so far. We've been to various fairs and festivals. So the Community Service Division is actively trying to make people aware that we're testing this year because it is a 3-year window. So we do expect a large
So if you
turnout.
fail the test, can you retake it or you got to wait till the next test?
And you have to wait until the next testing cycle.
Okay. And the requirements to take the exam, 18 years of age and a citizen, or you need a degree or anything like that?
No degree. You need a high school diploma or GED or a certificate equivalent. You need to be 18 years old, a U.S. citizen, have a valid driver's license, and to be hired within the city of Elizabeth, you must be an Elizabeth resident.
Because we have so many that apply, and also veterans, they get a preference, correct?
Veterans with veteran status will get a preference when we move to the top of the list.
And not everybody is a veteran, even if they served.
That's correct.
The veterans have unique qualifications for that.
Yes, they have to have had served to the specifics in an active war zone for a specific period of time in order to gain veterans' preference.
And in the past, Jim, we probably have had anywhere between 18 and 25 veterans topping the list.
Yes. But unfortunately, just because someone is a veteran doesn't mean that they usually pass the background list. We don't hire all of the veterans. However, they are the first ones that go through the background process.
And they move into cities where the tests are being held. I mean, they're smart people.
Yes. Well, people will move in and start residency in order to take a test to become a police officer in that particular spot.
And tell us before we close, Jim, that the background is done after you take the test. I mean, if you cheat on the residency requirement, it's going to be found out.
One of our biggest disqualifiers is residency. That's the first thing that's checked as soon as an applicant puts in their background package we make them fill out. Residency is then confirmed, and the residency must be continuous from the time of the test until through the police academy.
Yeah, oftentimes people will say, I just put down an address, but you look at public service bills or phone bills or voter registration forms, driver's licenses, talk to neighbors. I mean, all of that's done. I try to impress that upon my class, that people do check their residency.
It's a very thorough background check and thorough check on the residency. Police officers, we will actually visit your home and speak to the neighbors to make sure that you're actually living there and not simply paying rent in an empty apartment.
Because if that's found out, you're then taken off the list.
You're then removed for residency
And
requirement.
you have to find an appeal or something.
Yes.
And Jim, I want to thank you for taking the time. And I know you're doing a great job in reaching out to people in all walks of life in Elizabeth to make sure they have an ample pool to take this test. I hope we have hundreds.
I think we will, sir.
Good.
We'll continue our efforts right through the closing of the exam.
I want to thank Deputy Chief Jim Sacca for talking with us about the newest police exam that will occur sometime in the fall. But remember his important words. Between July 1 and August 31st is the time that you can sign up, and only during that time. For Deputy Chief Jim Sacca and Omar Munoz, our fire official, I'm Mayor Chris Bolwage, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.